Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
What is happening, my friends? Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it is politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. On today's conversation, I'm so honored and thrilled to have my dear friend, Virginia State Delegate, Bonita Anthony. She represents the 92nd District. It is re-election season. She is running for another term for State Delegate, State House Representatives for the state of Virginia, which is, look, Virginia is very crucial in this election season, as well as the state has it's a big race because currently the House of the State House and the State Senate, the Democrats has the majority, but I believe in the State House, they have it by like one seat. So all 100 seats are up for grab. And that's big. That's major, y'all. I would say this, the state of Virginia, especially Hampton Roads, my home area, Hampton Roads, Virginia, it's made up of a lot of federal workers. And I kid you not, every day I feel as though, or a weekend, I'm looking at one corner, there's a protest of folks, whether they're protesting losing their health care or federal government cuts and federal job cuts as well. And it's sad because at the end of the day, I can't tell you enough how many times I've spoken with friends that's like, hey, look, my husband's been here for, at least 20 something years, and they gave him the ultimatum. This either you get let go or you just got to take this and go uptown. And it's like, what? And it's sad because the issues happening in Washington, it has been affecting other states, especially Virginia. So I'm excited to have Delegate Anthony on just to discuss, what has she heard from residents and voters, because she's been all around the Hampton Roads area doing a lot of town halls, and which is very important, by the way, because we know folks are frustrated. And they have the right to be, but they have a lot of questions that in their opinion is not being answered. So I'm excited to have her on, and also just to discuss what's at stake really for the state of Virginia, how crucial is this election season, and so much more. We're gonna have some fun as well, because as I mentioned, she is a dear friend, and so I'm very thrilled to have her on. Because first of all, this is her first time on the show, by the way. This is how busy she is. Let me tell you something. She everywhere. I'm like, hey, look, you might have my people call your people, have my people. Okay, I got you. No, I'm messing with you. But no, she really is a true warrior in the Virginia area, and I truly mean that, not just because she's a friend, but really, I'm a person, y'all. I'm a millennial who is extremely fascinated with politics. But one thing that throughout my time of being involved in state, local, I've had opportunity of speaking with state chairs, local city chairs. I've had the opportunity to speak with everybody from a federal, state, and local level. You get the sense of like, okay, boom, you're doing what you were meant to do. Everybody has that. Not everybody, I would say, is what's the word I'm looking for? Not everybody is suited or meant to be, as in an elected position, right? Just in my opinion. But then there's some ones that are just like, I'm so happy. No need to worry, because this individual is in the play and she's doing it. And that is Delegate Anthony. I'm going to tell y'all right now, when you hear the passion and the knowledge that comes from Delegate Anthony, you will be like, oh wow. So here in this state, we got these issues. Does she mind moving and helping? No, okay. Nope. She's here to stay. She's only here for Virginia. So yeah, that's right, my friends. Anyways, let me go ahead and move it on, y'all. Before I move forward, though, thank you as always for taking 1 hour of your time to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. For those who happen to be streaming us on YouTube, do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with the family. We truly appreciate it. Look, our subscriber numbers and viewerships are continue to grow each and every day, and I want to thank you so much. We want to keep that momentum going. So please, as I mentioned before, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so, The Arrington Gavin Show. And you can also stream us on demand on Goatverse TV. That's right, the Goatverse TV network. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, please do so. It is free. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. You can also check us out wherever you listen to your podcast. We're available on all major podcast platforms. In addition to that, you can also listen to us on the radio airwaves. That's right. You can check us out on one of our 2 radio affiliates that we are so thrilled and honored to be a part of. We want to keep that momentum going and get on more radio affiliates, but we're just honored to be on the 2 that we have currently. You probably listen to us at them right now in New Orleans by way of WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show Monday through Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's only on WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. Then we're going to move it on to the Metro Atlanta region on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. Weeknights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. Again, that is 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. All righty, my friends. Now, you know we love to do fun facts here. That's our little tradition here on the Arrington Gavin Show. So I just wanted to share a fun fact about our special guest delegate, Bonita Anthony. Not only is she a state elected official, staying busy doing that, but she's also a jazz violinist. Who doesn't love jazz, by the way? But a jazz violinist? Okay. And then on top of that, she has an Avenger name. If she was an Avenger, she told me this, she was an Avenger, her Avenger name will be Navigator. And we're going to ask her during the show, we're going to ask her, why Navigator? Why Navigator? Which is because let's be honest, here on this program, we're Marvel fans here on this show, by the way. And so when she said Avenger, I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna get to talking about that here on the show, my friends. So look, that is your fun fact of the day. Do not go anywhere. We have a lot more show for you here on the Arrington Gavin Show. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have our special guest, state delegate, Virginia State Delegate, Bonita Anthony, representing the 92nd District. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs. And we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Order our scented beard oils and beard balms to help you maintain and grow the perfect beard. Order today. Try our men's care products like the full body exfoliating cleansing bars, body wash, smooth stash, and more. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. We're your luxury but affordable men's care line. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up. Yeah, this that new Goat Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
All righty, my friends, welcome back to the show. I am your friend, your homie, Arrington Gavin. As I mentioned earlier, I'm honored to have a special guest on today's episode. I have none other than the one and only Virginia State Delegate, Bonita Anthony, representing the 92nd District. I'm going to bring on my friend. How you doing, Delegate? How you doing, Delegate?
Hey, Arrington, how are you?
I am so honored and excited to have you on, my friend. I know it's been a minute. Yes. It's your first time, so please welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Finally, I'm here.
yes. But look, you've been busy, so I totally understand. Because look, what's happening in the state of Virginia. Look, listen. I'm waiting to see when you gonna have your vacation. That's the main question. When's the vacation happening?
Listen, not only what's happening in Virginia, but what's happening across the country. What's happening in DC? Woo, good grief! It has us hopping. We are grinding. We're working, and doing all the things.
I know that's right. Well, look, my friend, as I mentioned earlier, I want to give you your flowers. You, in my opinion, have been one of the a true warrior in the state house for the state of Virginia. Truly, you are doing it. And again, I just want to congratulate you. And we're honored to have leaders like yourself serving the Commonwealth. So again, I just want to thank you again. But I wanted to mention before we get going in the conversation. So I mentioned about your Avenger name, Navigator. If you don't mind sharing with the audience, I said Navigator. What? Like the Lincoln Navigator? What are we talking here?
No, not like the Lincoln Navigator. So yeah, I'm a Marvel fan. So I was like, if I was a Marvel character, what would be my name, and what would be my superpower, right? So I said, well, I feel like I would be a navigator. So number one, I'm that person that charts that course towards progress. I'm usually a forward thinker. I usually call myself a futurist, but back in the day, my father, when I was a little girl, taught me how to read maps because, we didn't have, all the apps and the gadgets and Google Maps and Apple Maps and all that kind of stuff. And we traveled extensively. And so usually we go, buy the maps from the gas station or the filling station. And so we would open it up and he would teach me, all the basic features of maps, how to read them, how to find all the rest stops, the rest areas, what is the interstate system, how is the interstate system, the numbering system was created, how to do Latin long. And so that has translated, further, when I started my, earning my private pilot's license and actually, going towards what we call the Part 107 on my remote pilot's license or drone. And so you have to, have that extensive knowledge of navigation. And plus I feel like, the self-care practice of grounding kind of roots you into the earth and then, you're being able to reconnect yourself and, to the earth. And so navigating, charting a course forward is what I embody. And that's how I, approach legislation.
Let me tell you something. First of all, you taking it back when you mentioned about getting the maps from the welcome to when you enter into a new city or a new state. Welcome to. Well, let me grab these maps. All right, so it says here if you and I used to always pick on my mother for using, and I kid you not, my mom probably still will use MapQuest. And I don't even know how MapQuest is still even in existence, but whenever we will travel, and the funny thing is, I'm like, Mom, we going to the same state. We do regular trips either to New York or Florida. Like, why are we using this? She would get that MapQuest. I'm like, Mom, we got, GPS in this. And she is so, for the audience that don't know, mother is a real estate broker. So she's been doing that for close to like 38 years, possibly close to 34, about 40 years. Yeah. And so she really has she has a great, memory on different, parts of the 7 cities here in the Hampton Roads area. She knows stuff by me. Oh yeah, you gotta do this, do that. Because when I was younger, and I'm like, I have to go off this street. Are you familiar with this, Mom? She would literally just write. She'll make her own little map. She'll write, okay, take this, take this, take that. And so it blows my mind because I'm like, I rely on my phone, my GPS 24/7. But she would love using MapQuest. I'm like, Mom, the map. Oh my goodness!
Right. So we could tell, could not imagine. We could tell when Google Maps is incorrect, and so
and that's the thing. She'll be debating. She'd be like, "Oh, you do that route if you want to. You do. You gonna run into traffic?" I'm like, "Mom, I got it.
You gonna run? Yeah, right."
But sure enough, if I run into traffic, it'll be a quiet ride. I'll be like, all right, let's go ahead and listen to. But it's just it's those are stuff that you can't like forget. It's always good to still have that. I think it's like when people always say, don't let technology run your whole life. You still got to have that knowledge. You still have to maneuver and use it as an extended tool, but don't let it just run your whole entire life. So
now, believe me, I'm a tech girl. That's my whole background. I'm a former engineer, so it's all in me. But however,
exactly.
I produce other engineers, so but they have to know where the source of that information comes from and how to use it and how to translate that to any kind of emergent tech that they face.
Absolutely. Well, a delegate, I would love to, again, this is your first time on the program. I would love to, if you don't mind, you mentioned a little bit about background about your upbringing, with you and your father, but I want to ask the first question: has public service always been a passion of yours to pursue? Because you are currently representing the 92nd district in the state house for Virginia. Was this something that was always a goal of yours to pursue, or was this just like, boom, it launched on your desk and said, hey, look, I think you would be great at it? Or has, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Listen, I don't think this public service is on anybody's bingo card, right? So so when we start off, and we always I have to go back to my father, and I have a deep ancestral connection to public service from my ancestor, Captain Paul Cuffey Jr., who challenged the Massachusetts state legislature before anyone else did on no taxation without representation, to my father, who was a national officer in the AFL-CIO, the American Postal Workers Union. So I had folks in and out of our house knowing how to advocate for my colleagues, my neighbors, and taking care of each other. And he would, be reading cases. And every time we go on vacation, it was usually to a regional or national conference. So, and I'm a daddy's girl, so I was always tagging along and became a page at one of these national conferences. So I was embedded in advocating, for people. And so I grew up with that within my household, to the point when I first graduated with my engineering degree, became an engineer with the Federal Aviation Administration. We were one of the first sets of engineers to actually unionize with the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. And so that's kind of unlikely because usually engineers don't unionize, but because of the extensive work that we were doing with putting in aviation infrastructure, from radar systems to TRACONs to everything out in the field, we needed those safety precautions, those protections, not just dealing with pay or anything like that. So unionizing with a very strong union with the air traffic controllers was a move that we made back in the 90s, right? And so that's kind of what I grew up with, that advocacy. And so as I went along, not only was I an engineer, but I also am a minister. I went to seminary. So, that's a whole different level of engagement and caring for the community. And within ministry, we made sure that all of our members, our congregants, and everyone we connected to was civically engaged, to the point where we started a political action committee, making sure everybody was registered to vote, make sure that we always energize the electorate, make sure we always pass forward pertinent information, partnering with organizations like the Urban League, the NAACP, and getting that information out to folks throughout the years. So it was in there, but being, a part of this elected space was never really something I thought I would do. And, then I, felt a higher calling and cutting my engineering salary less than half. I went into teaching, started in the K through 12 arena and went to higher ed. I'm now a higher ed administrator, producing other engineers and scientists at one of our 2 publicly funded HBCUs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But I've been doing that for well over 20 years. And so in doing, that kind of work and engaging, I felt a call to run for office back in 2018, right? So because our local school districts, were going through a little bit of turmoil while we were, going through a number of superintendents within a short time span and really going through crisis at that time. Once we were award-winning school district, and then we were just going through a crisis. And so Norfolk was having its first fully elected school board back in 2018. And so I said, hey, I think I have something to offer. And so I ended up jumping in that fight and really, getting to know and know the community at large. Met a whole bunch of people. A whole lot of us were on the ballot representing our prospective areas of the city. And even though we weren't successful, we stayed in the fight. We continued to advocate. We continued to connect with neighborhoods that we didn't live in, advocating for their students, their children, their educators, and so forth in that space. And so we kind of stayed in that arena where we knew it was very important to do the work, to advocate for not just for our schools, but just for our city. And so it was very important to link up with a whole bunch of folks in that same vein and still continue that work that we were always doing within the faith community as well. And then I got involved with different commissions in my local city. I was a part of the Norfolk Complete Count Census Committee, and trying to, and I worked with the faith communities to make sure that they knew to inform their members to make sure they fill out the census so that everybody could be counted for not just for resources, but of course redistricting.
Absolutely.
So Virginia went through a remapping of the entire Commonwealth. My goodness. So
I'm still learning some of these districts. Let me tell you something.
Right. So here are my maps. I'm studying new maps. Here the navigator jumps out at me. And so during that time, also what was happening at the federal level, the Supreme Court was acting up. Everything was being dismantled. And so even right before that, when the maps were finally approved in Virginia, I was, we found that I was mapped into an area that no longer had an incumbent mapped into it. So, different folks were finding themselves mapped into the same district as, their colleague within the state house. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, what in the world is happening here? In an area where Senator Yvonne Miller, who was the first Black female legislator in Virginia over 40 years ago, represented our area. And this same district that Judge Gerald Jones, our current mayor, Kenneth Alexander, our current treasurer, Dawn Hester, once represented, legacy folks, we find ourselves in an open seat. And I'm like, okay, what is everybody doing? And so that's when we went into some prayer and asking God, what in the world do I do with this information? It took months of just kind of seeking God on that, and then watching at the same time what was happening at the national level. And so as soon as that Dobbs opinion leak surfaced, I knew I could not hold it anymore. It was like it was something burning in my chest.
Wow.
And I knew that the burden was going to come down to the state level, because what happens in your lived experience is usually legislated at the state level. The states have the power, and we knew that states' rights was an issue that was being brought up again, and knew that, hey, this was an opportunity to really put forth some folks in the legislature who was going to do right by people. And that's when I decided back in, I believe it was 22, to file and run for this particular seat. It was pretty much a monumental historical election in November 23, where we brought in a slew full of brand new legislators, the largest freshman class ever, about 34 new members within not only the House of Delegates, but also the state Senate. As well. And then we ended up electing the first Black Speaker of the House, Speaker Don Scott, in Virginia's 405-year history. And so we did some good work. And so now, our terms are 2 years. The Senate, the state Senate is not up, but the House of Delegates is up this year. Virginia votes every year. We are one of the few states that, have that off-year election. And even though there is a special commission that's looking at consolidating Virginia's elections, we vote every year. And so right now, we always have to fight voter apathy. And so because Virginia and New Jersey are the two states that will have major elections after the 2024 presidential election. All eyes are on us. And so Virginia plans to be the bellwether. We plan, like our speaker says, we plan to offer a love letter to the rest of the United States of what it really means to hold fast and hold the ground, knowing that democracy is not dead, that we plan to make sure that we take care of people, and facing the facts that with all the dismantling, all the cuts from everything above the Potomac, right? So from Medicaid to SNAP to all job security, Virginia is ground zero for all of that. So literally, I see it every day. So the fact that Virginia is ground zero, the Speaker of the House, Don Scott, as well as on the state Senate side, created emergency committees that studies the impact of federal workforce and funding reductions. And myself and also my neighbor over in Virginia Beach, Delegate Mike Fagans, have been appointed to this special emergency committee. We've been traveling across the Commonwealth of Virginia because we know that Northern Virginia is going to be the hardest hit as far as federal workers, contractors are concerned, transportation infrastructure as well. We went as far west, Southwest Virginia, because we know that, even the tariff situation of Virginia's food economy, as well as their locality budgets come from federal money. And of course, their healthcare infrastructure heavily depends on Medicaid. We also had a meeting down here in Hampton Roads area, here in Norfolk, on the campus of Norfolk State University as well. We will have our major next meeting actually coming up very soon. On this month in August, we'll kind of summarize all of our findings and also hear any other issues that we haven't heard from, everything from the ports, our healthcare infrastructure, education from K through 12 to higher ed, to transportation infrastructure, to veterans and our military, to federal workforce and contractors, to small businesses. And of course, we're getting data from the Weldon Cooper Center of University of Virginia, also information from our House Appropriations and Finance staff, as well as the Virginia Employment Commission. It's been a full ride of us just looking at what is happening and how we, what in the world that Virginia can do to fill in those gaps, to make sure that people are still taken care of. And so that's the task that we've been faced. I'm glad that I'm able to bring every credential, experience, knowledge that I have to the table, from engineering to ministry to education, all to the table, that puts forth this work on a daily basis.
And I've witnessed it firsthand, Delegate, because you have been going from city to city, district to district, I remember not too long ago we had U.S. Senator Mark Warner here going around in selected in I believe it was in 2 cities, if I'm not mistaken, or he made 2 or 3 stops, at least in the Hampton Roads area.
Yes,
And
he made his way across Hampton Roads. We
Mhm.
met him in Chesapeake, the city of Chesapeake, where he's had a massive turnout to his town hall, a conversation talking just about the impacts of those federal workforce funding reductions to the community, and answering questions and listening to constituents across the area. And so we were able to join him in that conversation. But yes, the core piece of our our office is constituent services, and folks need to be informed, and folks want to be heard, and so it's very important.
It's that's the big
yes.
Oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off, Delegate. I wanted to say that's one of the biggest things that I've seen, which is important, coming from yourself, Delegate Fagans. And by the way, y'all, these town halls are not full of Democratic voters. I just want to put that out there, because I know Delegate Anthony, you are a Democrat. I just want that's not anything new, shocker, nothing like that, because a lot of my listeners know, hey, Arrington, when he sees something that I disagree with, I keep the Democrats accountable, I keep the Republicans accountable. I just try to keep it, I try to keep it balanced, but I'm just being honest. But these town halls have been a variety of Republican voters, Democratic voters, independent voters, folks that are unsure. And so I want to, again, I commend you as well as your colleagues for coming out to speaking, because we've seen it on, on the news, a lot of a number, I won't say a lot, but a number of GOP elected officials have been avoiding some of these. And I hate to make it a competitive thing, but they have been. And when they're pressed with the questions, they're not giving what, like you mentioned, folks want to be heard. That's the biggest thing. It's just, can you just listen to what I'm trying to say here? And they're avoiding that. So for you all to go from city to city, and I mean, having these long conversations, whether it's from a crowd of 20 to a crowd of 500 to a crowd of even larger, you literally will answer as all questions, and you will talk after it's over. And I'm like, okay, y'all know what time it is? Nope, look, gotta answer these questions. So it's a big deal. And if I don't mind by asking, Delegate, what have you been hearing, or what have some of the voters that has spoken with you, what are some of their frustrations? What have they spoken about to you in regards to, hey, look, what is being handled on this issue?
Right. So people are very concerned about the healthcare, and particularly mental health supports, especially when it deals with our differently abled individuals and their children. They want to make sure that their loved ones, have things in place that they will still be able to receive care, and also those supports within public education as well. And those are some of the major comments that we've gotten feedback on in our bipartisan emergency committee as well. And we, as a delegation, Norfolk has divided up into 4 House districts and 2 Senate districts, and one of our Senate districts is represented by one of our Republican colleagues as well, and he was able to join us in a joint town hall as soon as our session reconvene session was over as well. So we've been open to everyone to hearing their concerns. Myself and Delegate Mike Fagans had a special town hall talking specifically about our work on the emergency committee, and answering those specific questions about Medicaid. People are worried about feeding their families, particularly SNAP recipients, because it's not just about those safety net programs. Once those safety net programs are dismantled and it starts to implode, it will impact everyone else. So people don't realize that we have large major hospital systems in our area. And those hospital systems, 60% of their patients are on Medicaid. And so if they're not, they're already having issues about reimbursement. If they're not being reimbursed for care, that means everyone else is going to have a lack of care as well. We do have nonprofit hospitals on Southwest Virginia where there's a large concentration of GOP voters, where they're operating in the red right now because they intend to treat everyone whether they have insurance or not. However, they're not being reimbursed for that. So if you have Medicaid being dismantled, then they're going to close. And so that is going to be devastating for those areas. And we didn't know that even the Port of Virginia, which is right here in my district, the tariff piece really impacts people's healthcare because, from China comes your durable medical equipment, your wheelchairs, your CPAP machines, all of those things will be impacted by tariffs. And of course, Virginia has a very strong food economy. We are the largest exporter of soybeans to China, and so other, pertinent crops as well. And so our farmers, from our rural partners and neighbors over there are heavily dependent on our Port of Virginia and what happens over here and with our labor negotiations and making sure that we've outfitted our port to handle any type of issues whatsoever. And luckily, throughout the years, the legislatures have invested heavily in that port where they can handle those issues. So I think everything is not isolated. They have cumulative impact. So it's not going to just impact those who are receiving certain kinds of services. It's going to impact all of us in a negative way if we don't tackle it, or handle it, immediately or with some strategic plans going forward.
And I'm so glad, Delegate, that you mentioned that, because a lot of folks will always, I will say this, they won't pay too much attention. Like you said, it's not just happening in one solid, area. This is spread out sporadically. So it's like, okay, when it eventually affects you, then it's like, oh, everybody got quit. I'm like, no, this is what we said. You have to stay informed, my friends. You have to be aware of really what's happening. So I truly appreciate you providing that information, because I that was something I did not know in regards to the wheelchairs and the port. Like that that blew my mind right there, because for one, I already knew the tariff issue was not going to be good regardless. And that now you're mentioning that, I'm like, well, I mean, it's just, and I want to ask you, Delegate, is this something that you, again, you mentioned, public service is never on your bingo card, but did you ever imagine in your lifetime you would witness a nation where healthcare was being taken away? Like, I'm sorry. It's just, it's something that in my mind, I'm like, I'm at a loss of words. Like, healthcare is something I look at as this is a way of giving back to the community. This should not be something where it's taken away from our elderly. Like, it's sad when I see folks, on the street corner, older folks on the street corner holding signs. I'm like, this is not right.
Healthcare should be a right, and it's not a luxury. I'm a caregiver to my 89-year-old mother. I was a caregiver to my sister, who I ended up eulogizing in 2019. I was her caregiver for about 8 years, and she was a home health care nurse. So she was a pediatric specialist and cared for young folks. And my niece, her oldest daughter, is also a home healthcare nurse. So healthcare, the care infrastructure is vital, and how we take care of, and folks are getting older, and much older. And so that infrastructure has to be specialized. And so if folks like that start losing services, we already, still need to fill in gaps where, not enough of our vulnerable populations, our seniors, have all the care that they need, especially when they're navigating the medical tech, right? And so as everything gets more technical and more intricate, it's harder for them to navigate the healthcare system at all. So just kind of make an appointment with my mother, just having her to navigate, check-in apps that they
Yeah.
have to download depending on which practice that she's in, that her doctor's a part of, is kind of a barrier, a burden. And so when we talk about those things, I also approach legislation from, protecting folks not just with their healthcare, but protecting them and their data and their privacy, and all concerns, with our, not just with our federal legislation, but what we do at the state level, to make sure that we are covering everyone in every sector of their very lives.
That is awesome. Well, Delegate, you are up for re-election, and I would like to mention, and you're up for re-election for representing the district, 92nd district.
Yes.
Before I ask this question, I forgot to mention in the beginning, what consists in the 92nd district? Because I know a lot of my listeners probably saying, Andy, you keep on saying 92nd. What the heck is the 92nd? What is that? What is that?
The new
for those that are not from Virginia as well.
Right.
So
the new 92nd district covers portions of Norfolk. I have what we call the southern part of Norfolk, the western part of Norfolk, which includes downtown Norfolk. I have 4 higher education institutions within my district. I got the Norfolk State University. Behold. I have Tidewater Community College, the Norfolk campus. I have the campus portion of what used to be Eastern Virginia Medical School that has now merged with Old Dominion University. I also have Old Dominion University within that whole western branch of Norfolk. I also have the southern part of Norfolk, from all Chesterfield, Park Place, Huntersville, Ingleside, Compostela, Berkeley, and then it goes into the city of Chesapeake. I have the northern part of what we call South Norfolk, and that's a whole nother historical conversation in itself. That's where my mother grew up. That's where I also have deep ancestral connections within that area of what we call South Norfolk, that covers that region all the way to Pancake House over in Indian River.
I know that's right.
So my Virginia folks, and then we have a lot of communities that are bump up against shipyards, fence line communities. We got Norfolk Southern Rail going all the way through without our communities. So I have some of the most affluent folks. I have all of the most vulnerable folks and everybody else in between. So it's a wide representative district. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm so honored to be able to represent it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Delegate, what has been some of your accomplishments in your first term? And then what are some of your goals that you are pushing in this upcoming in this current campaign that you have, this current election?
So, we've done a number of pieces of legislation. One of the most prominent has been what we call the Cody Alert. Unfortunately, little Cody Bigsby, that particular case where he was never found. So Cody stands for the Critical Operations for Disappeared Child Initiative. It is the state alert system that covers children 17 and under, that fills in the gap where Amber Alert doesn't always work for particularly our children within, the Black and the persons of color community, where sometimes our children are labeled as runaways. They're not labeled as endangered. So this state alert system has captured any endangered young person 17 and under. It has been 100% successful, to the point where we've actually been able to uncover some home abuse issues because of this Cody Alert system. And so that was a monumental piece that we passed in 2024. Also, with the Virginia elections, we also extended the time that ballots can be cured, to extend another 3 days to give registrar's offices that time, because during our elections we also have a holiday that hits in between, and usually that really impedes them from getting, counting all of our absentee ballots that comes in through the mail on time. And so it does not interfere with that ballot curing and the certifications, especially with federal elections. So we made sure that didn't exceed, because Virginia is one of the easiest places to vote now. We have a 45-day voting season, and also no excuse absentee voting. We also have same day voter registration and voting here in Virginia because of my colleagues, Democratic-led legislature have put that forward throughout the years to make sure that all of our voices are heard and counted. So we did that piece of legislation. This is particularly within 2024. Also under our priorities is environmental justice is one of our fierce priorities. We've been pushing forward with that. Myself and Delegate Phil Hernandez are co-chairs of the Virginia Environmental and Resilient Energy Caucus. And so because our communities are dealing with everything, not just stormwater or climate change, but we deal with air quality issues and encroachment by industrial solutions that really impact our communities in a very bad way. So we've been pushing forward legislation on that. And I'm also a former career technical education teacher. So we have made it easier for people who come out of industry to be able to get provisional license and be able to be on the track to become qualified teachers, to fill in the workforce, because I know I faced tremendous barriers when I did the craziest thing and cutting my salary less than half. From being an engineer.
Yeah, that is a little crazy. No, I'm joking.
It is crazy from engineering to K through 12, but there are a lot more crazy people who want to do that, who want to offer their specialized skills. And if you want to build up the workforce, with especially with skilled labor, with master plumbers and master electricians and folks coming out of industry who want to offer their specialized skills into these career tracks, these career centers that are building up across the Commonwealth, then we're going to need folks who have these certifications already, rather than trying to, push that forward on an educator through one professional development day. And then they have to become master plumbers. And no, that's not what we're doing. So we're going to really make sure that we build up the workforce that we need, because education is the bedrock of economic development. And so those are some of the major pieces of legislation that we put forward. I'm also on the Joint Commission of Technology and Science. So we put forth a lot of artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and all kinds of emergent tech legislation. And so I have a piece of legislation that's under study right now, being reviewed to see if we're going to push it forward again, where we're trying to make sure that we capture the enforcement of every emergent tech that may come forward, from quantum to cyber to blockchain to anything that comes forth. Virginia wants to have the infrastructure to be able to handle these pieces of legislation, to offer consumer protections across the board. And also, I was fighting for independent pharmacies, because independent pharmacies are the ones that are filling in the gap when the Rite Aids, the Walgreens, all those things close. People are finding themselves in therapeutic deserts. And so we put forth a piece of legislation. It did not go through. We're working with independent pharmacists right now to reintroduce that, because they're offering healthcare within rural and in urban districts. I have an independent pharmacy in my district that people can go and get their basic health care from, also telehealth appointments inside this independent pharmacy.
That is extremely important. That is so important right there.
So yes, your state legislature impacts your everyday lived experience. That's why it's important who you vote for up and down the ticket, from the executive branch, from governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, to your General Assembly, your House of Delegates on this year. And then in 27, both us and the state Senate will be up again. And then to our constitutional officers. So in Virginia, sheriff, treasurer, commissioner of revenue, Commonwealth attorney, are all up for election. So Virginia votes every year. We're trying to re-energize the electorate and diminish voter apathy, and know that your voice is your vote. That is very important.
Extremely. We have about, I want to say 7 minutes left. Delegate, I would love to ask, how are we? And look, voters, we hear it all the time. Like, this election is crucial. This is a crucial election. As you mentioned, we have elections every year in the state of Virginia. But seriously, how crucial is this upcoming election cycle? This current election cycle, not upcoming, this current election cycle. How crucial is it? Because we're coming off of, at least on the state level, the administration that was a trip. I won't mention any names, but I just say, I used to nickname him the veto in chief. Everything he got on to say veto. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah, prominent pieces, he vetoes, and
everything was vetoed, and now we have
vetoed, and we're actually watching as we're ending the term. Every executive order that's still being pushed out, making sure that we're he's not setting booby traps for the future legislature that will actually extend beyond the executive orders. So it's very important. And like I said, with the dismantling of so many things, of safety nets, at that federal level, with so many people who are filing for unemployment right now for everything that's happening, the tariff situation, with all of this, I call it political theater that is happening, that's rattling up the base, and where markets are going crazy, grocery store prices are going crazy right now. Even people are finding they have issues with their health insurance, where things are not being covered that used to be covered. When I go fill out my medications, before that, there was not an issue with my insurance approving a certain medication. Now we're finding that medications are not being approved. You have to go through a significant jumps in order to get your medications approved, and they want to, we want to, we want you to take this medicine instead. And so your doctor is not making those decisions. And so those things are impacted by everything that's happening at the federal level. And so, there is some, power that the state legislatures can have. Again, I always say this, your everyday lived experience is really, really controlled by your state legislature. Virginia is a Dillon rule state, so localities cannot do anything without the state's permission, pretty much. So when we, craft legislation, we have to give our localities that breadth to be able to do what they need to do at the same time. So, if you want to, you're worried about your job, how you're going to take care of your family, about your children's public education, about our higher education institutions, to everyone who are appointed to the Board of Visitors that can change the entire culture of our higher education institutions. Right now, we're facing a brain drain where we're trying to keep our best minds that we educate here in Virginia, in order for economic development and industry to thrive. And that happens, when they have that freedom and that autonomy, to learn and to be able to grow. And so when that is hindered, when you appoint, because we, when there are appointments that come forth by the executive branch, the legislature actually approves it, or we actually disapprove it. And so that is a kind of an ongoing fight right now that we have to protect our educators, protect, our higher education institutions, and also, making sure that our young people are covered. Public safety is a big issue as well, that comes forward within the legislature. So that power that you have, and people don't know, we also elect judges in Virginia. So a lot of states have a different voting infrastructure, but the legislature in Virginia actually elects judges. So with your vote comes appointments. It comes judges at every level, from juvenile domestic relations to the appellate to the Supreme Court of Virginia, comes from the legislature. So that power in your vote is very important for civil rights protections, for protecting yourself online, to protecting yourself from mass surveillance, comes from the Office of the Attorney General.
Come on, y'all learn something. Take notes, y'all. Take notes. I got my notepad.
And
ready. Pen is ready.
And Virginia doesn't operate on a full ticket, so we can have a split partisan ticket at the executive level, and so it's important for us, to keep watch on that, because we don't want to have an Office of Attorney General suing our governor on everything that she will do from here on out, because that hinders what we bring forward to the people. So this, and we say this every year in Virginia, I know people are tired of it, but I just want to get this point across, that people are watching us. Our friends in California, our friends in Texas, our friends in Michigan, especially our neighbors up in Maryland. They're all connecting with us and saying, hey, we're watching Virginia and see what y'all are going to do. And they're also supporting us in different ways as well. And giving us that encouragement that we need. But they're watching us to make sure that we do democracy right.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's extremely crucial. I mean, we have a well talked about election. First of all, Virginia will witness the first ever woman elected as governor. You have Abigail Spanberger, former Virginia Democratic Congresswoman. You have the Republican nominee, current Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. I've also mentioned, and I mentioned here on this program because I had the opportunity to interview. You also have a third independent candidate in Donna Charles, who's also running for governor. So you have all women running for office. And then on top of that, when you look at the diversity amongst each ticket, when it comes to lieutenant governor's race and attorney general on both sides, I mean, it's very diverse. But like the Virginia House Speaker Don Scott has said, look, the Democrats we're gonna see a trifecta. That's his way. He said we're gonna see a trifecta, because, and I'll just speak on this because I've been looking at the polling numbers right now. Abigail Spanberger, former congresswoman, she has been keeping a lead pretty steady right now. I can't speak on Winston Earl Sears. Nothing against Lieutenant Governor. I've been reaching out to both parties to see if they love to come and share some of their platform here on the program. But it's a lot of work right now. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's going to be a major election. But Delegate, I want to, for one, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule again for coming here on the program. Please, I would love to talk with you just for a couple minutes after the show, so please don't go anywhere. Before we end this conversation, I would like to put, if I can, give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. For those who are watching, for more information, because as I mentioned before, Delegate Bonita Anthony, is running for re-election for State House seat District 92 in Virginia, and she's up for re-election. So here's her site, bonita4va.com. And I want to thank you. Please don't be a stranger. And thank you so much for taking the time and coming here on the program.
Follow us on all socials. I'm Bonita G Anthony on all socials, on all platforms. So follow us and track us what we're doing.
Thank you so much, my friend. Look, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna chop it over just for a couple minutes, but thank you so much. All right, my friends. I hope y'all enjoyed another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. As I mentioned before, look, we're gonna give it to you straight, unfiltered. But look, I hope you were informed. I hope you learned something from this conversation, because that's what is most important, is being informed, staying up to speed of what's happening, not just on a federal level, on a state level, but also on a local level. You have to understand what's going on in your backyard. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and be sure to tune in every day to the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace and blessings, y'all. Y'all stay safe. I'm out. I'll talk to y'all soon.
That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget. That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget, stay connected with us on all platforms. Follow at Arrington Gavin on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, and subscribe to the official Substack for exclusive takes and deep dives you won't get anywhere else.